Joe McNamara has spent her career making sure the enemy never gets close enough to touch her family. She knows how to disappear. She knows how to run an operation. She knows how to identify a threat before it becomes a crisis. But in Lioness Season 3, Episode 2, something goes terribly wrong. Because this time, the enemy doesn't have to find Joe on a battlefield. They find her at home. And by the time the CIA realizes what is happening, Joe is already gone. The episode, titled No Sorrow Like the Survivor, opens with a nightmare that immediately changes the direction of Season 3.
Joe is being held captive.
Her kidnappers aren't asking random questions, and they aren't behaving like ordinary criminals. They move with the confidence of people who understand intelligence operations. They know how the CIA tracks its people. They know Joe is likely carrying some form of surveillance technology. And then they find it. A tracking device has been hidden inside Joe's toe. Her captors remove it, cutting off one of the only ways the CIA could have followed her. Think about what that means. Joe didn't simply get unlucky. Someone knew enough about her procedures to prepare for her capture. Someone knew what to look for. And someone wanted Joe alive. That last part may be the most frightening, because a dead CIA operative is a tragedy. A captured CIA operative is a potential intelligence disaster. Joe knows names. She knows operations. She knows people. She knows secrets. And if her captors can break her, the damage won't stop with her. Then the story pulls us backward. 6 months earlier, Joe's world looked very different. She was still balancing her career with her responsibilities at home, trying to maintain the illusion that the two worlds could remain separate. But that illusion was already collapsing. The violence that Joe had spent years dealing with overseas was beginning to follow her home. Foreign operatives had targeted her residence, turning the place where Joe's family should have felt safest into another potential battlefield. And the people behind the attack weren't random. They were identified as Belarusian nationals, with the CIA suspecting links to Russia's SVR. Suddenly, Joe's personal life becomes part of an international intelligence war. And that raises the biggest question of the episode. Why Joe? The answer appears to be connected to the operation in Ukraine. The Lioness team previously went after a Russian intelligence target, and missions like that don't simply end when the operative returns home. Somebody on the other side remembers. Somebody wants revenge. And somebody may have decided that Joe is the easiest way to deliver it. But revenge isn't the only possibility. What if this is about information? What if the people who captured Joe aren't looking to punish her? What if they're looking for something she knows? That possibility immediately makes her kidnapping even more dangerous. Back at the CIA, Caitlin Meade and Byron Westfield are faced with a crisis they can't simply solve with another mission. Their problem is bigger than a missing operative. Joe's identity may have been compromised. Her enemies know who she is. They know where she lives. They know enough about her security procedures to defeat her tracking technology. And most disturbing of all, they know how to get close to her family. That suggests planning. It suggests surveillance. And most importantly, it suggests a source. Somebody may have provided information. The CIA begins looking back at the Ukraine operation, searching for the point where their secrets might have escaped. And this is where the episode becomes less about a kidnapping and more about a hunt for a traitor. Meanwhile, Cruz returns from Ukraine and reconnects with Josefina Carrillo. But there is no sense that everything is going back to normal. The team is carrying the weight of what happened during the previous operation. Every successful mission creates consequences. Every target taken creates enemies. And every secret operation creates the possibility that somebody, somewhere, knows more than they should. Then the QRF discovers surveillance near Joe's home. That discovery changes everything, because now there is physical evidence that Joe was being watched. The enemy wasn't simply reacting to her. They had been studying her. They knew her routine. They knew where she lived. They were close enough to watch without being detected. And suddenly, Joe's kidnapping looks less like an isolated attack and more like the final move in a carefully constructed operation. Someone watched Joe. Someone gathered information. Someone identified her vulnerabilities. And then someone made the decision to take her. The CIA now has to work backward through the entire Ukraine mission. Who knew the details? Who had access to sensitive information? Who could have identified Joe? And who could have passed that information to Russian intelligence? One Ukrainian source becomes particularly important as investigators begin considering the possibility that information from the operation was leaked. And if that's true, the consequences are enormous. Because this wouldn't simply mean Joe was betrayed. It would mean the enemy may have penetrated the network surrounding the Lioness operation. And that could put everyone at risk.
Cruz,
Josefina,
Caitlin,
Byron, and anyone else whose identity has been connected to these missions. But while the CIA searches for answers, Joe is trapped. And this is where the episode gives us one of its most interesting reversals. For so long, Joe has been the person sending others into danger. She's the commander. She's the strategist. She's the one who watches from the shadows while another operative walks directly into the fire. Now she is the one inside the fire. She is the asset. She is the prisoner. And her team is somewhere outside trying to find her. That reversal makes Joe's situation feel much more personal. Because Joe has always understood the risks of her job. What she may not have been prepared for was seeing those risks reach her family. The enemy isn't just attacking American interests. They're attacking Joe's ability to separate work from home. And that's what makes this kidnapping so dangerous. Joe can survive pain. She can survive interrogation. She can survive being hunted. But threatening the people she loves gives her enemies something much more powerful than information. It gives them leverage. And that could be exactly what they wanted. By the end of the episode, the CIA has two problems. They need to find Joe. And they need to find the person who exposed her. Because even if they rescue her, the larger threat remains. If the enemy knows Joe's identity, what else do they know? How many other operatives are compromised? How much information has already been transferred? And is Joe's kidnapping the beginning of something much bigger? That's the question Season 3 now leaves hanging over everything. Joe has spent her career fighting wars that most ordinary people never even knew existed. But now that hidden war has crossed the threshold of her own home. The walls between Joe's two lives are gone. There is no safe house anymore. There is no clean separation between family and mission. And there is no guarantee that the people around her are safe. Because somewhere out there is an enemy who knows exactly who Joe McNamara is. And worse, they know how to reach her. The most important mystery moving forward isn't simply whether Joe survives. It's who exposed her identity. Was the leak connected to the Ukraine operation? Did someone deliberately betray the CIA? Or has Russian intelligence discovered a way to penetrate the Lioness network without anyone realizing it? Whatever the answer is, Episode 2 makes one thing clear. The war has come home. And Joe McNamara is no longer hunting the enemy. For the first time, the enemy is hunting her. So what do you think? Who exposed Joe? Was there a traitor inside the Ukraine operation? Or is the CIA dealing with a much deeper Russian intelligence operation? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you want more Lioness Season 3 recaps, ending explained videos, and theories as the story unfolds, make sure you subscribe to Screenscope and turn on notifications. Because if Episode 2 is any indication, Joe's biggest fight may be the one she never saw coming.